And in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place.
You are not content with the stories somebody's lives go. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoir of excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Good evening, chat. How are we doing tonight?
I want to put in something right now, proper horror show. You missed a absolute freebie here. You could have had it. You could have redone that intro so that it repeated kind of the first 10 seconds 3 times.
No,
as this film did.
Just like Universal did.
Oh no!
Absolutely ruined it. You've ruined this episode. I hope you're happy with yourself.
Start again. Just start again. They won't notice.
Oh, quick! I can shoot it. I can make this happen. Right, BRB, Premiere Pro uploading. Oh no,
It's too late.
We've got enough video fun tonight. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. This is the 63rd episode of Double Feature Horror Show. We are going to cover a topic and then we're going to cover a horror film in depth. I hope you're looking forward to it. I'm seeing a lot of people who are good regulars and I'm seeing a couple of new faces around here. So Scoop Dog, I've seen you before. It's good to see you back. Make Me American, good to see you. I know you like the old video that I had on Critical Drinkers, Critical Blinkers. And Tailed, good to see you. And who else is making a debut? Years, good to see you. I'm so glad you made it, Years. I know you've been feeling proper rough. We are thinking of you. I also wanted to say a big thank you. Weird Sister, this is a fun tradition, getting in before the stream even starts and dropping $10. Much appreciated. You're an absolute star. I don't know if you're still around, but I just want you to know thank you. Much appreciated. And I think I said in the chat, I am planning on dropping details of the secret project. Does anyone know how to do the echo? Secret project. In July.
Secret project. There you go. Nailed
Lovely. Awesome. I'm going to drop it in July. I'm a tad nervous. It's got a huge amount of sincerity behind it. And sincerity, as we all know, is cringe. But I'm going to take that risk for you guys because I think you'll love it. Imagine believing in something like a big... Wait, I can't say that word on YouTube.
We're all irony poisoned here.
Like a big
Yes.
word?
Absolutely. Okay, apparently we need to do an audio filter. Gosh. Okay, never mind. All right, I'm not going to delay because we actually have an incredibly tight deadline on this episode. We are under very strict instructions from Super Nanny. We cannot mess around tonight, guys. It's going to be a 2-hour stream, or there will be consequences.
No! Wow. I like how it's my fault we can only go till 10 and TCG gets the whip.
TCG Live gets the whip.
Exactly, yeah. I also like how Super Nanny's got one massive tit.
I can't unsee that now. All right, buckle up, buckaroos. Well, it's not just Haryan and TCG joining us tonight. We have a debut here from PaleoAngloism.
Hello.
I'm not dead naming you, but I was trying to get you on whilst in your previous iteration.
Yes, as the British Knight. It has been some time, including a couple of IRL meetups and a bottle of peasant's wine to get here. But
I got sloshed on parsnips.
Yeah. So, but I'm finally here. Thank you for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
Guys, I have actually asked it for ages. Can I have, I want to say a BK in the chat. Can I have a PA in the chat for PaleoAngloism? Because I'm so chuffed we got you on board. Because one of the slight problems with getting you on PA is you're not a fan of horror films.
I'm not a huge fan of horror films. No, in that regard, I'm not big on tension. In that regard, I'm a bit of a wuss, I have to admit. But but I am a fan of comedy horror, and so this the stars have aligned, and this particular film is one that not only have I seen, it's one I rewatched recently, and it's one that I am a fan of. So
excellent. Yeah. So I always do this when someone has a debut. So comedy horror is more your thing. What would be some of the comedy horrors that you'd say are really the ones you go for?
I'm forgetting the name now because it's been years since I watched it. But the one that really sticks out to me is it was a zombie movie with Noel Clarke from Doctor Who and the Adulthood series, which it's a zombie movie set in a small British town, and it was where basically him and all his mates go out there for a stag do, and they'll get caught up in what is effectively a military experiment gone wrong, and it's actually not only one of the better, albeit low budget comedy horrors I've seen, it's also one of the funnier as well. So
that wasn't just kidulthood.
No, it's not.
I haven't heard of it. That sounds interesting.
Hold on, I'll have a look. And
you have a look for it. I'll say, Fez, we do have more parsnip wine. Although, if I'm honest, it is more parsnip sherry. It is strong stuff. You know, I don't know why, but a lot of the time the wine we make is coming out pretty darn strong. It will knock your socks off.
Doghouse, that's the one.
Fez has got it. Well done, Fez. Awesome.
Yes. Doghouse, slapstick. It's described on Wikipedia as a slapstick comedy horror splatter film.
I love it. I already love it. Okay. I don't tend to go for them much myself, but I'm intrigued by that. And happily, we've got a film tonight that is a comedy horror that I actually really liked. And we'll get onto it, but I believe it was you. I'm so sure it was you who actually pointed me towards an interpretation of this film that is, dare I say, a little bit based.
It may.
Go.
I was just going to say, I think it might be, but
we'll get to it.
I'm saying I've lost it now.
No, it's good. It's good. We will get to it. We'll get to it. But first, this is double feature horror show. We do have the first feature to do. Now, if you pay close attention to the thumbnail that I have, it does say we're going to talk about the return of Black Mirror. But then I decided I didn't want to do that at all. In the grand tradition of Jigsaw, I want to play a game. And this should be an interesting one for us. We're going to play a game called Play Your Stars Right. And I will go over the rules for you now. It'll be really quick.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, you are going to love it. You're going to love it. Look, we're going to have a great time. Okay?
Oh, my God. That's a tomato.
Oh, yes.
Right. Love this.
I want everyone in on this. And by the way, hi, Diatrip. Good seeing you in the chat. I hope you like the show. We're just about to start the game. This is very much like Play Your Cards Right. It's borderline copyright.
I was going to say Nintendo are looking over us right now. I
Yeah,
can
those-
feel Mario's
those-
moustache hairs just stroking the top of my head.
Yeah, those star sprites are very sus.
I'm gonna tempt the copyright filter. Okay, that's enough.
Imagine if we got caught on that. All right. So the rules are really simple. It's like Play Your Cards Right. I'm going to show you, except it's with Rotten Tomatoes reviews and films.
Okay.
We're going to go through the filmography
man.
of some well-known actors, and you're going to tell me whether or not the fine professional critics of Rotten Tomatoes rated the film higher or lower than the previous film.
All right.
Sounds simple.
So, just for clarification, is this audience score or is this critic score?
It's going to be the critic score.
Oh, this will be piss.
But if you want to switch for audience, we can do that. We're going to do you guys one at a time. So who wants to go first?
Pardon?
You
All right,
heard.
that's going to count. TCG, would you like to be first?
Damn it. Yeah, go on then.
All right, for the test round, and chat, you get in there. You get typing as well. Higher or lower?
Just a quick one, right? If one of the scores, if both the scores match, I'm leaving this stream.
You get nothing for a pair in this game.
Yeah. You got to take that risk, TCG. Okay, so I think the rules are really simple. You're gonna enjoy it, and we're gonna play our first game of Play Your Stars Right. I hope this works.
Wow. Wow. This is some Five Nights at Freddy's.
This is amazing.
Oh my god.
Yay!
I hate everything about this.
ITV, commission this right now.
All right. This should work. Okay, we're starting off.
Okay.
Oh, I've wrecked it.
Oh
No, don't do it. All right.
I didn't think it could get any worse.
I will play that again if you want. Okay, so for our first round, we're going to be real quick fire with this. Actually, I can't see the chat, so I'm going to rely on you guys and my wonderful guests. You've got to tell me what chat's going for because I can't actually see it.
Right,
So we're going to start off with the fantastic Jamie Lee Curtis. And we're starting with Freaky Friday, which the critics rated 88%. So do you think critics rated Prom Night, her 1980 film, higher or lower than Freaky Friday?
I'm going to say lower.
It's a very safe bet.
Oh,
it's a very safe bet
easy.
indeed.
Easy.
50% according to the critics. But what about The Fog from John Carpenter in the same year, 1980?
That has to be higher. Has to be.
Oh, nailed it.
Oh, nice.
75%. Okay, you're doing well, TCG. The confidence should be building up. But what about Christmas with the Cranks?
Oh my god.
She's got a very varied filmography.
Yeah. I want to say lower.
I think that's a good choice.
Yeah.
You are very correct. 5%.
Oh my god, thank god. Oh.
Not a fan.
Imagine if you said higher.
I know, right?
I had a good time with this movie, I will note. I enjoyed it.
I remember being a bit bored with it, to be honest.
Oh, I had fun. All right. I had to watch this for a stream with Tyler Hamill, it was interesting.
Wow.
Anyway, True Lies, guys. True Lies. What do you reckon? TCG?
Classic. It's got to be higher.
100% accuracy.
Has to 100% be higher.
Correct.
Nice.
69.
Very, very nice. And now, what about Halloween H20?
Oh.
1998, 4 years later.
Oh, 20 years later. Yeah.
I wanna say
It's got LL Cool J.
You're saying
it does have LL Cool J.
Surely that's in the mid 50s.
Yeah, I'm thinking around the 50. Lower. Go lower.
Lower. Oh, chat. What's chat saying about this?
Chat saying 69.
Chat is saying
just because they're catching up.
But they're saying lower at this point, to be fair. So
I think I should probably set the latency quite low, but we'll make do. Okay.
They're saying
52%.
Oh, thank God! Right.
You're correct. Okay, so it's still 100%. So for a final film from Jamie Lee Curtis.
If you get this, you win £1 million.
Do I? Nice.
Yeah.
If you get
Proper
this,
horror show, promise.
every single member of chat is going to smash that like button.
They're going to do that regardless.
All right, Knives
You're
Out.
gonna do it regardless.
Higher or lower?
TCG, I'd go higher. Critics love this film because it was the man who did TLJ, so it must be good. In Knives Out, like that, there's a moment where like part of the plot gets confused because someone confused the name Ian with I'm or something.
Brilliant.
It's a great film.
Chat's saying higher. You're saying higher.
I'm going
to go higher.
A resounding
97%. Wow.
They loved it.
I need to see this film.
People are idiots. It's not a good film.
Expectations subverted.
Yeah, it's kind of the TLJ. Well, of course it's TLJ. It's got what's it called directing it, right?
Rian Johnson.
Make Me American says you get 1 million Dogecoin.
Oh,
that's a whole £2.50.
Nice.
Yes,
All right. We do have more. Okay, who would like to go next in a fantastic round?
Me, Miss Horrorshow, me.
Oh, brilliant, Haryan. Up you go. Right, you're going to be so happy with this. Nicolas Cage.
Oh, City of... Oh.
What's wrong with that?
Wait, for a start, you've got me mid-50s and I've got to verse it another Nicolas Cage film. It's like, is the next one 56 or 54? I'm not sure.
They're all 55%.
The problem is he's the ultimate middle-of-the-road actor. So
Yes, this isn't fair.
Look,
City
you
of
had
Angels.
a warm-up and now you're ready to slide into the game, okay?
I would...
55% for Con Air.
The thing is, I have to get in the mind of a critic, and my mind doesn't go that low. Higher. Is it higher?
I feel like it'd be higher because I think
Haryan's going higher.
sloppy.
He thinks critics are swayed by the soothing soundtrack provided by Sarah McLachlan.
Oh,
Don't
that's
judge
easy,
me, chat.
Well, if I knew it was Sarah McLachlan. Oh,
You got it correct.
Damn right, I got it correct.
3%. 3% difference.
Am I in the Nick Cage round?
Yes.
I am screwed.
It's you're having a rage in the cage. Okay.
Oh, unbelievable.
All right. And now, after City of Angels, in 1 year later, the very different and also covered on this very stream 8mm. What do you reckon, Haryan? Higher or lower?
I reckon this is lower because I went through the Wikipedia of this, obviously, when we went through it, and I think critics hated it. So I think it's lower. I think it's like mid-20s or something.
You are correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Oh, you've given me Ghost Rider next. This is not fair.
Haryan, I would never do that to you. I've given you Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. There's a very important distinction.
Everything
what do we
I
reckon,
hate.
chat?
I ironically liked this film, so
Well, it must be fucking garbage.
Hey, Devontae, good to see you. You've joined us in the middle of a game, and also Soup Visual. Good to see you. I'm not familiar with the name, but I hope you're enjoying yourself.
Soup Visual, my channel. Hello, Soup.
Oh, nice. What's the bet, Haryan? Higher or lower? Ghost Rider.
I'm gonna go higher because critics are unpredictable.
Oof.
Oh,
it's all right. You can recover.
Jeez.
You can recover. Don't worry about it. How about the relatively unknown 2005 drama/comedy, The Weatherman, where he's literally cuckolded?
It can't be lower than 18, sure.
Yeah, he gets cuckolded. Yeah.
Look at him. He's got the man Spunk on in the poster.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Harry, this is a family-friendly stream, I would remind you.
Oh, he got his coconut water on him. There you go.
Perfect. All right, you've recovered it. 59%. Now, how do you think critics compared comedy drama The Weatherman to drama Leaving Las Vegas? Nick Cage plays an alcoholic. Elizabeth Shue plays a tart with a heart.
This seems like the type of S word that critics would love, I guess.
I was going to say, I feel like it'd be higher just because it's a little bit older as well.
Why did I get the Nick Cage? Why did I get the Nick Cage round when the only two films I've seen with him in are The Rock and 8mm? Higher.
Dennis, those are the right ones to do. Higher is absolutely correct.
Yeah,
absolutely correct. Now, a tough one. Leaving Las Vegas at 89%.
Giggity.
But for the final film in the Nick Cage round, how did critics compare Leaving Las Vegas to Mandy, a recent horror film from, I believe, 2019?
Well, do I make the safe choice of lower, or do I go mad lad and go higher? Because I have no idea what Mandy's about, and it could be the greatest film on earth for all I know.
I've been told it's that I would love it.
Okay,
I'm also seeing, I'm seeing some love for Leaving Las Vegas. Good on you guys. I love that film. He actually won an Oscar for it.
Okay, proper horror show. If it's lower, I'll give you a tenner. If it's higher, you give me a tenner. Okay, because I'm gonna go higher.
Hang on, who's going to give me a tenner?
No one.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
You see, the trouble is, I know the results of this one, but nevertheless,
Well, that's what I was trying.
you've gone higher. You are correct.
Yeah, why?
Point.
Nice.
Wow.
1 point.
I've
Check
never
your
even heard
next,
of either of those films.
next stream.
Oh, excellent. Well,
Next
that should be
stream.
on
You
like
had the
Thursday,
courage of
so.
your convictions, and Mandy, and I'm very intrigued by this, has a 90% score.
Well,
Higher than the film he won an Oscar for.
This clearly is the film for after the Lovecraft arc. So
Yes. All right. BK, we can do if you fancy.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Okay. Will Smith. All Will Smith's greatest hits. Except
Okay.
that got him banned from the Academy. Obviously, we're starting with Shark Tale.
how is this 35?
Absolute banger. Absolute banger.
How is this? Is an insult to the art form of animation.
What do you reckon? TCG? Oh gosh, I don't think I've edited them on for him.
Well, tell us what the next film is.
What's the next film?
Okay, this might not work. Let me close it down a little bit.
Look.
Right, hang on. No, this might not work. I did them for a different actor, I'm sure. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to have to switch you over to Steve Buscemi, I think.
Okay, fair enough.
To be fair, at least he's in better films.
Oh no, Will Smith gets booted out of something else again. Oh no.
Oh no.
Wow.
I promise. I thought I'd done.
Oh my god, Will Smith just come through my door. Oh my god.
Oh dear. Okay. Apologies for that. Okay. Steve Buscemi. Can't believe I forgot the Will Smith. All right. Steve Buscemi, starting with his 1990 horror anthology, Tales from the Dark Side. Personal favorite of mine. I really enjoy it. How did that compare to
What?
Bugger? We're going to skip that because I evidently forgot to put it in. G-Force. Let's start with G-Force.
He was in G-Force?
Heck yeah.
Who was he in G-Force?
I think he was one of the guinea pigs. I'm taking a wild guess.
Oh my god. I remember Penelope Lopez was one of them. I remember that. This was like my film as a 12-year-old.
Oh my.
What a film.
All right, BK. 22% for G-Force. How does that compare to independent drama Trees Lounge?
I'm going to say higher for Trees Lounge.
It is a very safe bet. 81% for Trees Lounge.
Yeah, I was going to say, Trees Lounge seems like the sort of film that friggin' critics would eat up, to be honest.
Yes. Audience too, though. Look at that. Audiences also appreciated it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Nice. All right. But how does Trees Lounge compare to Reservoir Dogs? Higher or lower?
See, this is a difficult one because it's very high, but Reservoir Dogs is a very good film. I'm going to say higher again. I'm going to risk it.
Higher. Okay. Correct. 90%.
Nice.
90%.
Oh, another good one as well.
You have got a very tough round here. I'm going to be honest with you. Compared to Big Lebowski, what are we going for? Higher or lower? Fresher or rottener?
I'm going to do another risk, and I'm going to go lower.
I reckon it's higher.
Ooh.
Fair enough.
Very close. Very close indeed. So what about recent drama slash comedy, The Death of Stalin.
That has got to be higher.
I'm gonna
Surely.
say, I'm gonna say higher. I'm gonna say higher.
All right, going higher. So far undefeated. You are correct. 95%.
What a film!
Oh my god.
What a film!
This is stressing me out a little
You're
bit
getting
now.
brutalized. You're getting brutalized in this round. I mean, you're getting them
right.
right, but Jesus, man.
Yeah,
Decent films here.
Fargo.
Fargo, indeed. Ooh.
I will say 95% is usually the tippy top of Rotten Tomatoes. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna say lower for Fargo, even though Fargo is pretty good.
Ooh, okay, here we go. Just
Whoa.
correct.
EH, you're a nasty witch.
It's true. It's true. I think that is my final. That is final before we go on to Jodie Foster. So yeah, there we go. Well done.
Thank you very much. And I can't believe I got all of those right. That stressed me out far more than it should have.
Yeah, it's you do get into it. You very much get into it when you're doing this. All right. Oof. I hope you enjoyed it. I have a lot of them prepared. Clearly not prepared all the way. I realized that because I can't see my presentation screen, I need to add the next film in. But I haven't done that for all of them. But I think we might see this again.
Definitely. This was great.
You need an outro to accompany the intro as well, I think.
I could do that.
End credit
I'll
screen.
prep. All right. I'll prep an outro for it as well. I'll get some nice cringe 90s family fortune, families waving sort of stuff.
That is the exact tune that was going through my head as we were talking about this. So.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I shouldn't tarry because we do only have about 90 minutes before Super Nanny breaks down the door in a rum-soaked rage. So we should probably talk about the film of choice for tonight, which is Happy Death Day from 2017. Now, this is an interesting one. It's a Blumhouse production, which I'm not going to go so far as to say is a bad mark against it. Blumhouse has had some hits. It has had a lot of misses. And something you might say they're a bit known for is being a real production line of horror. This is, this happens a lot. Hammer, Amicus, Roger Corman. These are creators who are known for just really pumping the films out.
Yeah.
Blumhouse very much is that.
Yeah, corporatism of horror films, basically. But as we say.
I find it really interesting that they market them as Blumhouse horrors now in an almost like, you know what you're going to get. And they're not afraid of a gimmick either. That's something I find quite interesting. So they did them based around Truth or Dare. They did one based around escape rooms. Weirdly, in the same year, you got two films, both called Escape Room, that were horror films about escape rooms. Clearly, when the craze took off, a whole load of scripts started just flying around.
It's like Deep Impact and Armageddon all over again.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
They seem to like Jordan Peele as well.
Yeah.
What the theme of every film is racism.
Oh, yeah. You're getting ahead of future videos of mine. Tell you what, I've got to actually put a poll out in the middle of this stream. So I'll probably type it at an opportune time, guys. But I'm going to need you to vote. Fez, I think it's Baron de Saumagnac 15 year. I have not cracked it yet. Sorry, this is the Armagnac. Yes.
Oh no, I meant the fortified. Is this going to be a fortified vote?
Let's just say I will take the vote as indicative of the result.
So yes.
Maybe. Now, Haryan, you looked up the director and writer, didn't you?
Oh gee, let me get the wiki up.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right, go ahead. Tell me what you found.
So, what I found most interesting was the director, Christopher Landon. He basically tried to make this a film that was kind of a mix of Scream and Groundhog Day. but he specifically wanted it so that the main protagonist was the worst type of character you get in a Scream film, turned into a Sidney Prescott. So the best character you can get in a Scream film, which I think he did throughout this film. To put it, well, yeah, but almost perfectly, really. It was like the opposite of a Rian Johnson film. I like, because the subverted expectation was actually very good, and then what I expected to happen happened, and I'm like, oh, but it happened with really justifiable reasons. The film was really good with it.
Yeah, this film was surprisingly, I'd say it was surprisingly well structured. I would say.
Oh yeah, it made me feel feelings I didn't even realize I had. Which is quite something.
Yeah.
No, it made me feel anger. I don't know what you mean.
I should also.
How did you not? Sorry, how did you not know that you have anger? That's like your
when am I
default
ever
mood,
angry?
isn't it?
Oh, when am I ever
Mood,
angry? Tell me one time I've ever been angry.
Whenever you read The Guardian.
Yeah, exactly. Never. That is every other week, to be fair.
If you want to know why Blumhouse is able to get all these movies out, by the way, on a budget of 4.8 million, this raked in 125 million just on the box office.
And it's the only film that deserved it from Blumhouse.
Oh, guys, we have a legend in the chat. St. Thomas Aquinas. You brighten up my streams, sir. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure he wrote this film.
Yes. I mean, shall we? We'll get into that. We'll get into that. First, we need to, for people who have not seen the film, and we should warn you, folks, we are going to be doing full spoilers. And the ones that I think you don't want to be spoiled for it, really. There are some really good twists in this film.
Oh, this is going to be one of the few times I say, spoilers now. Go watch the film first, then come back to this. Like, it's one of the few times I'm actually going to say it's worth doing it.
Yeah, genuinely, this is not a run-of-the-mill slasher. And I would like you, I think you'll still enjoy it, but it would be nice to see it unspoiled. So no one will be offended. If you haven't seen it, watch the film, come back and watch this on replay. So, Haryan, are you up for giving us a 3-minute summary of Happy Death Day?
Yeah, I can give you a 10-second one. It's Groundhog Day mixed with Scream. Done. Right.
Nailed it.
On a more serious note, 3 minutes. Right. Time me.
Okay, hang on. Wait.
Okay.
And go.
So, Teresa Tree wakes up in a dorm room of another guy. And she obviously takes the assumption that she has done the deed with this man and has woken up after a very drunk night, wants Tylenol, whatever. And then it's like, right, I'm getting out of here quickly as I can. So she gets dressed, takes the drugs and goes. And I'm making this point for a good reason. So she walks through the campus grounds. So she sees a woman picketing, getting signatures for climate change action, sees a couple who get sprayed by sprinklers, and then sees a pledge fall to the ground while he's doing a pledge activity or whatever it is they do in America. She also sees a kind of guy she saw once called Tim, and he's like, "You don't return my text," and she's like, "Yeah," and then walks off. Basically, she is the classic, university slag, and there's no nice way of putting it. And as she goes through the day, she meets with her sorority girls and dorm roommate, and they're all basically nice to her, but they're like, "You're a mess, sort your life out." And then she's also having an affair with one of her lecturers, and this is all important. So that's just the first day, and then as she's going to her birthday party, because it's her birthday, she gets stabbed along the way and dies, and then it's Groundhog Day. So this keeps on repeating, and she goes through it. And at one point, I think kind of the next big moment in terms of this kind of plot is she finds out that who she thinks killing her is a serial killer who goes after blonde girls in their 20s who's at the hospital. Big spoiler, turns out it's not him. And I'm skipping a load of stuff, and I hate this 3-minute summary, but I'm kind of glued to it now. She's saved by the guy who she finds out his name's Carter, whose dorm room she's been sleeping in. he comes along and basically saves her, and he's a good guy. And it turns out they didn't actually bang, and he actually cares about her and doesn't want her to kind of defame her own name. And there's a load of time loops where she kind of, as she develops this sense that he's actually a good guy and she needs to change her ways. And there's a big scene that I'm completely skipping on at this point to really make that point.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yes. And in the end, so she hangs herself to be like, I'm going to reset the clock so that Carter doesn't die. And so I can get the serial killer another way. Turns out when she does that, the time loop starts again. She like freaks out about it. She's like, but I didn't die. What the hell happened? Turns out her roommate gave her a little cupcake with a candle on. And she's like, oh, I ate this. This is the only time I ate this. I must have died in my sleep from being poisoned, which I'm like, oh, that's really clever. So she works that out, has a little fight with her. I don't know how to describe this, but she makes it, she like shoves the cake in her mouth after a little fight and then kicks her out the window.
I'd say that's a really good description.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all I can think of is Dying Light 2, where that's an actual move in it. And then after that, she's with Carter, explains everything that happens, and then she lives happily ever after. And he's like, oh, this is like Groundhog Day. And she's like, what's that? And that reminded me of me, because I've never seen Groundhog Day.
I was going to say, it was just like you.
Yeah. But I have kind of missed out the parts of the film that make this film absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that is the overview. But this film, you know, like any slasher, to be honest, the premise is usually very light. It is the details that make it.
It's one of those.
Let's go through some of those.
Yes, it's definitely the characters that make this film. But and the plot's not a mess, so yeah, already it's above a 6.
Yeah, I would say like as a foundational comment is that it does seem like, unlike other films of this type, a fair bit of effort was actually put into the writing of this movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it feels like everything's accounted for.
Yeah, it's consistent, it's well paced.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
challenging as well. Like I think it is pretty darn brave of them to start her off as, you know, unashamedly unlikable. Like, it would be easy to write this where she's a bit of a like Yas Queen girl boss.
Yeah.
And there's really only one moment that I think is like that in the film.
Which part's that?
Oh, I think I know. Is it the
It's
hospital?
yeah. Well, what do you reckon I'm going for, TCG?
Linda Hamilton.
That doesn't explain it to me.
I'm thinking of the moment where on one of the times that she respawns, she just sort of says sod it and walks out naked.
Oh,
that bit.
I
Okay.
really like that bit. I thought that bit was great.
I'm sure you did, but
yeah,
it kind of undermines the message of the point.
Well, I think it's consistent with it, because it's at the point where she's like, "Oh, I'm clearly dying a lot. I may as well just do what I want." Because it was part of the montage, wasn't it?
It was indeed. It's this bit.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest. Even though it seems like a bit of a backtrack from her character, sort of improving herself, I think the actress just sold it and is really fun. In the scene. She's having a great time.
What you've got to bear in mind is she's repeating the same day over and over again. You know, she's obviously going through some sort of mental process, it's obviously going to have some sort of mental impact. So surely, you know, we can forgive her for having a day where she's like, you know what, sod it. Today's the day where I do what the fuck I want.
This is a coping mechanism, which is why I'm okay with it. Yeah. I didn't think it undermined the story at all. I thought, because this is trying to be a black comedy.
Oh yeah, it works with the story. I think it's just the character progression. It's a minor quibble I have.
I wouldn't even say that.
It's ever so slightly skew-if, but it's not so bad as to like break the story or anything.
I think it's perfectly in line with the character at this point, to be honest.
It is. It is. It's in line with the character, but it's a tiny bit of a sort of wobble in the progression. But that's more of a problem for the interpretation of it than for the actual character. So as ever, you know, character wins out?
I mean, I think it's just her having a bit of fun in the like situation she's in, and she seems like the type of person to do that. So
it's also very well judged to stop it being boring. You know, they know the problem of you're going to have to see the sequence over and over and over again. And they manage to do these things to keep it interesting.
I mean, the best part of this particular shot as well is that you don't actually see her, because they do a shot from the back where it's like, yeah, she's naked, but they actually just focus on her face for the first two bits. Like, this is the first part where you see she's like not got the straps over her shoulders. And so
they take a while to reveal it, you know.
Yeah, so and that's what I really liked about the scene is because I went, oh, I think she's naked here because everyone's giving her attention finally. And then it like shows her from the back just fully naked. I'm like, yeah. That's what I thought.
This is her taking a day off.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think it's a really fun way to deal with the kind of repeated first part of this, with the emo doing the sunglasses to her, then the climate change girl, then the sprinklers and all that. They were very consistent with those four things, which is a very easy thing to do. But as I say, it's very effective. Because it's used for so many different things throughout the Groundhog Day kind of experience, I guess you'd call it. Which I really, really appreciate. Which is why I say this is one of the kind of the best films we've gone through. Really.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they paid a lot of attention to every aspect of the story, which is everything I care about. So.
Yeah. Shall we talk about maybe one of the first killings?
Sure.
Is it the first or one of the first?
It's the first killing.
Yes.
I thought it might be a good way to sort of talk about how the cycle starts. She's gone through. She's being, frankly, a bit horrible.
Yeah, I felt like kind of 10 minutes in typing in. I don't like doing this because obviously you usually do predictions, but I did feel like saying I hate this woman. And I think I hate this film.
Well, here's the thing. I think because I was exactly the same. I said to my wife in the first, I was like, "She's a bitch. She's horrible." But in hindsight, I think the film is trying to make it as abundantly clear as possible that this is a person that you should not be liking, and it sets up a lot of room for a redemption arc later on, which I think it does pretty well.
Well, it's a bold move. They make you hate someone and then they die, and even when they get killed, I'm like, she didn't deserve that though. And then as she goes through, she only improves.
Did anyone get Woman in White vibes in this particular scene?
Oh,
like,
goodness.
do you know about the
Wilkie Collins?
Well, it's more of the urban legend of the Woman in White. Or the old myth.
No, I don't know that one.
Oh, it was just a woman in white, traumatic death, haunts roads and like back roads and dark paths and looking for victims. She was trying to get somewhere and never made it. I just got vibes from that, just because she's wearing an all white dress. She's a young, attractive woman, and her life is ended in a brutal fashion. And I thought, if it's going to be like a vicious loop, then that sort of feeds into the Woman in White lore, because essentially the Woman in White will always repeat the same night over and over again.
I also found it a bit weird at this point, because when I read the blurb for this film, it's like, oh, it's a black comedy. And at this point, I was like, where's the comedy? So it's quite a strange way to go about it, because if you watch a film like Hot Fuzz, that's kind of comedy first, and then it slowly goes into the horror. This one's the other way around. It's horror first, comedy comes in a bit later, and they both work pretty well.
There's very light comedy, I'd say, on the warm-up, like little things like just light dialogue comedy, which is quite nice, keeps it moving along. The roommate of the guy that she we're led to believe she slept with comes in being a bit inappropriate. Her sorority sisters are kind of buttholes, you know.
And this and this first kill also made me think there's more than one killer, just because of the mechanics of how it works. But I mean, it's spoilers. It turns out to be one killer. But I'm kind of like I'm letting it go a bit more than I think with other films, just because I know it's being a bit more lighthearted. Because the killer's kind of gone.
Also, I think that once the final reveal is, once the final reveal is done, all the kills which towards the end of the film, you're starting to think, well, how did they all occur based on this, that, the other? There must be more than one. They all kind of make sense in context.
Yeah, it's I mean, spoilers anyway. Well, because it turns out to be a roommate, you kind of can infer that her roommate knows where her roommate's going to be most of the time. So that's why the killer is always where she is. And in some of the loops as well, the roommate is actually there and obviously gets dressed up in the background. It's just annoying at some points because it's obviously a man in the suit.
Yes, that was something we caught and complained about. I think there's one where she locks herself in her dorm and he still gets in. Well, that has to be her roommate doing it. But
yeah, but I mean, that doesn't break the story. It's just makes it obvious when you think about it. But how many people are clocked onto that? I don't know. So it still works pretty well. It's minor things that you can fix, which is, as I say, that's why it's above a 6 at the very least.
Yeah, I would like to also point out just it's always worth noticing on here and remarking on it. This is really nicely shot. This lead up to the first kill, it's nicely framed. We get some good use of foreground and placement, nice blurry background, the old bokeh focus there. It's just really nicely composed shots that someone took time to think about.
Well, that was my big thing, was the fact that I was like, considering the type of film that it is in the genre that it's in, which is, let's face it, normally quite low budget. I was surprised how competent this film actually was. Like, I really was not going in like the first 10 minutes. I was not expecting this film to be quite as just quite as well made as it ended up being.
Yeah, you expect it to be schlock, and there is schlock in it, but it's not. It's not the classic kind of middling film of nothing but schlock, but there's some competent writing as you'd expect. It's got clever bits in, which is, well, as you say, it's way more than you expected.
Yeah.
Which I am more than happy to take. And when people say, "Oh, it's a comedy," who cares if it makes sense or not? It's like, well, this film makes efforts to make it make sense, and because of that, it's really good.
This is why I don't like that type of argument, because I don't care what genre the film is. Like, it can still have a solid, well written, consistent story with rules rules that make sense within the context of the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, and that's especially what I like about Day 2 as well. Because Day 2 with Tree, it's she's going through the campus again, and her head goes, "I've lived through this. I know it is, but I'm assuming it's deja vu." And you're not going to assume you're in a time loop. And she is like saying to people, "What day is it?" And people are like, "That's a weird question, but I'll answer." And they do.
You also get the sense of, like, she is very messy, that she does get like they explicitly say she gets wasted, she's macking on randos. She's also kind of upsetting her friends by who she gets off with. She gets a text calling her a whore.
Yeah.
And you get the picture built up about who she is, and you can understand her, like, being a bit messy and people not being surprised by it. It takes her a while to cotton on.
And it's ironically the first bit that made me kind of like her. I'm like, oh, she isn't an idiot. She just makes stupid decisions. Which I'm, more than happy to play along with this character at this point. It's, she's just a slag, but she's not an idiot.
What I like about it is, and what I like about her character is, as you find out later on, a lot of the bad decisions that essentially she's made is because of events that have happened before the film. Was it the year before she lost her mother? And so she's obviously going through
Yeah.
some sort of grieving process, and part of that process is, lashing out and, like you say, making bad decisions that are detrimental to her, because essentially, she stopped caring, and it's taken this Groundhog event to sort of make her realize, put things into perspective, and sort of get her back on track, because you get the impression early on that there's a rift between her and her father, because the film starts with her phone ringing, and it's her dad, and
Yeah, it's
throughout
my
the movie
birthday,
throughout the movie she's just like refusing to answer.
Yeah, I just want to make that point now. That this is where excellent storytelling is. At no point do we actually meet the father, and at no point does she really comment on the father beyond, I just don't talk to him. That tells you
does meet
so
the father,
much,
though, right?
right?
Oh yeah,
Wait.
yeah, she does meet. Yeah,
But
Calm
do you mean
down.
before this? Sorry.
Before that, yeah, this is what I mean by excellent visual storytelling. Everything to do with the dad is entirely on her phone, and all you know is she ignores him. But that tells you two really important things. One, the dad clearly cares, because first thing in the morning he's calling his daughter on her birthday.
yeah,
And the second thing is, clearly there's some trouble there, because she can't physically, well, maybe not, well,
Bring
she
herself.
physically can, but she can't bring herself to answer the phone.
Hmm.
And obviously when we get to this particular bit, it's like, oh, this isn't because of any animosity. This is because she is trying to work out herself who she is. And there's so much character stuff going on throughout the film to get to that point. It's so earned that, yeah, I'll say it. I shed a tear at that point. I thought it was really cute.
Yeah.
And I literally said out loud, film, you have no right to make me feel this way. You are supposed to be a stupid dark comedy. You made me feel feelings before I didn't know I had.
was. Yeah, I didn't cry because I ain't a bitch, but
well, sorry, I'm rude.
It was a well earned. It was a well earned payoff. It definitely worked.
Well, what I was going to say is it's such a surprise considering like the rest of Hollywood media now, where you'd have to be told, like, the girl would have to say, "I hate my dad. He's a piece of S, whatever." But in this one, it's just, yeah, I'm just not going to talk about him.
Yeah.
Keep him in the background throughout the film. He's on your mind, and then when you get to him, you're like, "Oh, she does love him." She just has a really hard time actually kind of discussing anything like that with him. Yeah, coping with it, and it's like, oh, this is really cute. This is really good, and all the dialogue here where she's like, "You're trying to make small talk. You're my dad. We're not supposed to do this, and I've not helped." Obviously, they made meta dialogue for that and made it more subtextual. But I'm like, this is great. This, people will say this is kind of a middling film. No, this is one of the best films of 2017, probably, just because of that scene.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I would compare it in that way to say Shaun of the Dead or The World's End. Like, yes, it does comedy. Yes, it does some good horror. But I did not expect to get hit right in the feelings and have some really strong emotions.
I would say it is similar to the reconciliation scene between Shaun and his dad in Shaun of the Dead, his stepdad in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Or like Danny on the grave, something like that. It's it is on that par. It's really good. It's really well earned. And if that was spoiled for you, then you deserve it. I hope you have a terrible life.
I really like that you picked up that so much character building is being done without details. She doesn't stop and just give a speech, and things aren't spelled out. It's more just like simple observations that people make about her actions that you then infer the character from, and you build up this picture like actually you're not meant to celebrate her behavior, which I think is what you'd maybe expect to be asked to do. But you get this complex picture of her as someone who is very defensive and is making bad choices, but she isn't proud of herself about it.
No, it's a bad coping mechanism, basically.
Speaking of simple observations, I want to just briefly touch upon the cupcake. How early on did you guys pick up on, or pick up that might be something key in the movie later. It felt like to me it was a bit of a Chekhov's gun. I don't know if it's the right phrase to use.
No, that is right. It is absolutely a Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
I didn't pick up on it at all. They had a really good reason for it being there. It was a nice sort of significance that they did something with, because it was there as a sign of gratitude from her. I just read it as she's really antisocial and unlikable. She's a pain in the butt to her roommate, and her roommate's making an effort, and then she kind of disregards it. And it was all in character, but it also had significance. And then when it gains a new significance later in the film, I just thought, oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's just I think it was like within
literally
the first
blew
sort of
my
10 minutes.
mind.
Yeah, well, it was within the first 10 minutes, I think, of the film. I said to my wife, "Yeah, that cupcake's going to play a role later on." I just it was I got it wrong. I thought if she ate the cupcake, I thought it was because I thought it was just going to be something silly, like she's going through all these like emotional changes to try and figure out what she needs to do to better herself to get through this Monday and into Tuesday. And I figured to myself, I bet it's something dumb, like if she just eats the cupcake, she'll get to Tuesday. No, completely wrong. She eats the cupcake.
No,
She's
but
still.
Go on.
Again, it worked. It completely worked because.
Oh yeah.
By the time we got to that stage later on in the film where we think it's all sorted and she wakes up and it's still Monday, the cupcake had completely gone. And then when she was like, "Oh my god, I died in my sleep," I was, "Oh my god, that was the one
your mind
time."
blew.
Yeah, it was the one time that she actually, ate the cake, and I'm like, "Oh my god."
Well,
Mergut picked up on it straight away as well. It's you and Mergut. This one slipped right by me.
Yeah, and the candle as well. I suspected it was her roommate early on, and I was a bit. This film did a brilliant job of just throwing me off my immediate suspicions by introducing this serial killer who escapes from hospital, who goes for 20-something, blonde teenagers or whatever it was. But then I kept circling back to like, how does he know it's her birthday? Why did he specifically use a birthday candle when he killed her in this particular scene? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But then it just brings it all back, and then it's like, oh, of course.
I was going to say, this is a really nice clue here, that in the scene where she's killed in a car fire, it is a sort of, why does the killer have a birthday cake candle on? How would the killer know? It's a really nice clue for you.
It's so subtle. It's so subtle. I mean, it's a weird thing. It's both really subtle and really explicit at the same time. It's a paradox, and it executes it close to perfection. And this is one of those rare films where I'm going through being like, yeah, it's really good. It's a high mark, and I'm going, I think I need to give it a higher mark.
Speaking of marks, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomato score for it now, and I'm sorry, the critics rated it 71%, and the audience gave it a 67%.
Criminal.
Both are wrong. I'm
just going to say off the bat, I cannot, in my heart of hearts, agree with that score. I was expecting to come into this film and be like, it's going to be a bit of a,
you expect it to be pure schlock.
And I was expecting it to be a middle of the road film, and just at the end, I said to my wife, what did you think of that film? She's like, I've seen it loads of times. Yeah, I think it's right. And I was like, do you know what? I really liked it.
I'd probably put this on part, maybe not, slightly under the Cornetto trilogy.
Oh wow!
Probably put it at that level. It's just under the World's End, probably.
Yeah, likable characters. Innovation, create beautiful framing.
The comedy's woven in expertly, really.
Yeah, I mean, they have a great mechanism here that they can just amp up, and just it's very much like, I might be wrong on this. Let me boo me if I get this wrong, but I felt like there was damn you, Haryan. I felt there was a similar approach to comedy that the Cornetto trilogy takes, where it does an amazing setup and it builds on it and it recalls it and it changes it. So the way, and because she's reliving the day over and over again, you have a perfect device to build on what you've seen and then just twist it. and do something unexpected, and you kind of set up for all the punchlines as you go, and it just works amazingly.
Yeah, I think we should comment on the comedy at this point, because I think the two bits I laughed at most were kind of in the 10 to 20 minute mark on a second run through, where she manages to get to the surprise party, and a bit I had to pause the film out because I was laughing so much. Was I think you know the bit?
Was it this?
No, that
Really?
was a bit. That wasn't the bit I had to pause the film at, but that was very funny.
Oh, this!
No.
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
lost
I
it
laughed
at
at
this. I was having
Yeah,
so
that
much
was
fun.
a very funny bit. No, the bit I'm thinking of is when she initially goes to the surprise party and she's already a bit wary. She's like, I've lived through this day before and I know I'm going to die. And she gets to the door and she opens the door and there's a guy in the baby mask there, and she instantly just knocks him out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the lights turn on. Everyone's face is like, "What the hell did you just do?"
Yeah.
I had to pause because I understood what happened straight away, and I'm like, I don't want to miss what happens next. So I had to pause it and kind of wipe the tear out of my eye. And then it goes on. It's like, Jesus, tree, why'd you hit me? And I'm like, yeah, that went where I thought.
It's like it's an old joke, but it actually
was
makes
so
amazing
well
sense
delivered.
in this scenario. It's incredibly well implemented, and
Well, it's just well done, old but gold slapstick comedy.
Oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
I mean, that's the thing with comedy. You can tell the same jokes over and over. It's just the delivery is the most important part, really, when it comes to comedy, in my opinion. But yeah, this bit as well, where it was very John Wick, where she just ignored what's going on because the music, and obviously he's being stabbed, and obviously this is her roommate, who I can't remember the name of. Obviously, it's her roommate killing her because she really wants to kill her. And honestly, when it comes to the roommate's reasons for killing her, I'm like, yeah, I can understand that.
I can understand it, but at the same time, it does kind of drive home like I said, the kind of base themes, because she wants to kill. She wants to kill her as a consequence of both of their thottish behavior.
Yeah, it's two whores going after the same man. I mean, the man's a Sigma, he's a doctor.
But it's the fact that she's jealous that he prefers Tree over her, and it's just one. Like I said, it just kind of reinforces that base theme. Just like, you're only in this situation because you're only in this situation because you've made very human mistakes, but they've been taken to an emotional extreme by the killer.
It's not like it's that outlandish where women have killed each other over having the same lover. It's just the length she goes to in this film. It's like, that's kind of the bit where you go, is that realistic? But you're like, yeah, I've seen true crime.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you get to this point, you're half an hour in the film, and then you get half an hour later, she's gone through another 10 loops, because they do a whole montage bit. The whole montage bit, I thought, was, you're pretty much nailing the comedy of the kind of the tone you're going for here.
And there's kind of a meta thing here now, where we're kind of very experienced horror fans. We've seen quite a lot of them, so the kills, in a way, they don't always hit us as hard as they probably should. And it's the same with her. Is like, she approaches some of the killings with kind of like a blasé attitude, but not too blasé. It's like, this film never tells you to not care, which is very good as a decision thing. Hang on, we'll get to the reading. I think you'll like the reading. I'm going to see if I can sell you on this film. Actually, but before we go into that, I am going to release a poll. Right.
I'm not being funny. This film's theme is stop being a thought, be a trad wife. Because there's a line in this where it's like, this guy saved my life. If I survive this day, I'm going to have his babies.
Oh, yeah.
It's the most trad take I've seen in my life.
This film has some pretty trad takes. What can I say?
Yeah. You'll have liked this film, Liz, I can promise you.
Yeah. So in the montage, I also like. She does a really sensible thing as well. Like, she works out she's got tons of lives, and so she just obsessively investigates.
Yeah, that was the montage.
Yeah, that's quite funny. Yeah, that's
I
quite
loved
funny.
it.
Yeah.
Great source of comedy, and
It's like, I quite like the bit when she's spying on that Tim guy. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's this bit here, and she catches him about to jerk off, and then she gets disturbed. Hold on, and then he leaves the room, and then he's left the laptop on, and it's gay porn.
Right. Hang on. Right, let's think about the mechanics of this scene, because I have an issue. Right, the man gets his wang out and starts masturbating before they've even started kissing. What man watches porn and starts getting his dick out and tossing the bishop off before the woman's even got naked? Like, hang on.
Right, hold on.
There's no woman in this.
Right.
What's he going to do? You know,
I can't speak from experience, Haryan. However,
neither can
you sound
I.
like you sound but you sound like you know at which stage you should you should whip out the wang while watching gay porn.
I do, yeah. I know very well.
You know not to whip it out at this stage.
Well, so I'm basing it off experiences I've had with a particular
Haryan, gay porn observer, confirmed. Nothing wrong.
No,
nothing wrong.
I also, what
He's just zooming in.
Yeah. Well,
Huh?
What I also liked about this montage was the bit where she had she painted her face in an army camo.
Oh, the old camo gear, yeah.
And she had night vision goggles as well to spy on one of them. And this isn't even a plot issue. I can totally understand her stealing from army surplus that stuff, or even spending $5K on that stuff. Or I could totally understand it, but I love how that's how much she understands the situation she's in, and that's how much she's willing to spend on this. She will paint herself up in commando woodlands camouflage and then get night vision goggles, because that stuff's worth like $2,000 if not more. And I really like that they put that much effort into it, and it's like you can easily justify that. And what I found, and I really like that scene as well, because she was doing that and she's like, oh well, it's not them that killed me, and then she sees a baby face just running at her and rugby tackling her and drowning her. And I'm like, the game creative is not just turn up behind you and stab. It's it's an entertaining slight to it. She's getting drowned, and also when she's getting drowned, she wakes up drowning. And I'm like, I really appreciate that. That is something that adds another layer to this film.
Yeah, it happens a few times. Like when she hangs herself, she wakes up and she clicks an egg. But there's one bit in the montage where the killer doesn't even kill her. She's walking in the street, and she with her friend Danielle, and she sees that card that she had in an earlier death, and then she assumes her to be the killer and starts attacking her, and they both get run over by a bus.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. That's part of the comedy, and I'm like, I really appreciate that. It's because it's the leader of the sorority, isn't it? And it's another thing they add as well, another layer of the consistency. She wakes up every day with a headache. One time she leaves the dorm without the Tylenol, and you kind of see the world through her eyes, where she's got the headache and not seeing things properly. It's like the camera work effects. This film's so good. This film doesn't have any right to be this good. It doesn't have any right. It's a black comedy.
Right, Fez mentions in the chat the idea of unlimited lives from the video game generation bugged me. I want to talk about the unlimited lives aspect of this film.
It's not unlimited, is it?
But I do have it's not a massive criticism, but it is something I feel like should be pointed out, and that's there is a seeming inconsistency with the idea of how the resets affect her, because we find out later on in the film that every time she resets, she essentially carries over she gets a bit weaker because she's carrying over the injuries that she sustained from the bit. And she in one of the resets, she wakes up and she collapses, and she's in hospital, and they go through, all the stab wounds that she's inflicted on, like the wounds to her lungs and all that jazz. And they're like, you should be dead. But that's the only time that she ever collapses or appears to really be weak. It's just sort of mentioned in future bits. I mean, how after the explosion, the explosion where you guys saw in with the little candle, that was after this was after this was revealed. How she didn't wake up with 3rd-degree burns across 100% of her body is beyond me. Like, how do you square that circle? I mean, it's
this is the part of this is kind of the main
It's the-
criticism of the film for
yeah,
me.
it's
I
the-
don't
it's-
think you
yeah.
needed this.
Yeah, it didn't really need it. I mean, you could not, like, if they just said she got a bit weaker each time, and fine,
I don't
okay,
think you
yeah.
needed that. I mean,
Well,
think about it.
But,
How
but
mad
no,
would you get if you lived the same day every day of your life?
True,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, what it does, it takes away the unlimited, respawns aspect. So it does add a degree of danger, because essentially, she is essentially, for all intents and purposes, immortal. Because she
it's
ain't
a tension
dying.
increaser, but I would,
Yeah,
I lean towards it not being necessary, because I think just like
It's not necessary.
the tragedy of being stuck would do it. It's sort of more than enough. I mean,
yeah.
what do you reckon, Paleo?
I think it actually worked in the fact that it actually creates stakes, because unlike in like the unlimited reset, like pure unlimited reset type of thing, sort of video game generation aspect that's been developed, I do think if there were no consequences, then it would not create it would kind of undermine the sense of urgency to figure out who the killer was, because now she realizes she doesn't have unlimited time, she doesn't have unlimited resources, and it's just she is bound to some level of rule.
There's a limit, yeah.
I just think. Sorry, I was just going to say, I just don't think that it was handled consistently enough, and I think that's really the one area where they dropped the ball, just because it was really highlighted when she collapses and goes to hospital, but then the other respawns after that, it doesn't increase on from there. It just mentions, I just feel a bit weaker.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tism of the film. It's kind of it was like, only your internal wounds stay. You should be dead. It's like, well, why isn't she?
Yeah.
Well, the films continue. So I don't think they needed this. And I think when it comes to stakes, as I say, imagine living the day you've just had for the rest of your life. You'd want to kill yourself after 10 repeats. I'm not being funny.
She literally does on some occasions.
Oh yeah, she literally does on some occasions. That's enough stake. Like, not being able to live the rest. I mean, she makes the point at one point, she points at a sticker that says, "Today is the first day of the rest of your life." She's like, "I hate this sticker." It's like that was enough to say, yeah, she wants to get out of this time loop. You don't need the stake of she's literally going to die, because if she dies of old age, she's just going to come back.
Well, I was to say, if anything, there's if she has a limited amount of respawns, if she gets to a point where she's like, bugger it, I can't handle it anymore, then that there is an incentive for her to end it all. That would be a valid way out.
And if she ends it, she comes back anyway, as it was shown with the hanging scene.
I think the lesser movie would have had her reach out to some expert. There'd be someone who, for some reason, has a weird bit of knowledge of this.
It'd be Tony Todd.
Oh, if only. In another Blumhouse classic, I think it was Sinister, they got Vincent D'Onofrio to be a demon expert that they talked to via Google Hangouts, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, you've got a demon. It's I think that's Bagul. I know this stuff." And it's like, "Oh, okay." And she never gets it explained here. I mean, they explain what's going on in the sequel, which we'll talk about at the end. But there is a sequel. I do not recommend it.
She didn't have a Bobby, did she?
No, a Bobby?
Supernatural.
Oh yes. Oh, don't make me crave Supernatural.
Because Supernatural literally did a Groundhog Day episode as well.
They did. It was amazing, wasn't it?
It was really one of my favorite episodes of that series. I can't remember
was
if
it
the
Dean
third
kept
series.
dying or Sam kept dying?
Dean kept dying, and Sam Sam was the one trapped in the Groundhog Day.
Oh, good times, good times.
Um,
Yeah, they. One thing that we haven't mentioned here is it's sort of an interesting aspect. I was wondering if anyone would say anything, but it didn't really occur to me. But you notice this film is pretty darn bloodless.
Yes, I noticed that straight off the bat, that there was a lack of gore and
Mm.
It's
not
probably
horror.
why I
Yeah, just
appreciate
a lack of gore. And yeah, do you know what? I didn't miss it
Well,
which is, I like, because when the first kill happened, my immediate worry just before it was about to happen was, please don't let there be CGI, because I felt like it was going to be a very CGI heavy film. And then when the first thing happened, it just sort of fades to black. She wakes up again. I was a bit like, oh, okay. No
well,
gore.
it's the perfect thing for a horror film. I'm sure I've simped for this idea before, but the most effective part of horror is your imagination.
Yeah.
All horror has to do is set up your imagination and go from there. And it's one thing about Soma that I really loved. You see some of the horrific things they do, but then you read the logs and it's like, we don't know what happened to this person, but we know this horrible thing took them. And we know this horrible thing can do this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh, they might have done worse.
Mm.
And this is kind of what this film's about. It's, okay, you see the point up to which she dies. Okay, who knows what happened to her body in that multiverse or timeline or whatever. And yeah, blood is a big factor. Was this a 15? It feels like a 15
It was
film.
a PG-13 in America. Now,
That would
for
probably be a
modern
15.
horror, pretty hard to get it. I think. How did it get rated in the UK?
I imagine it would have been a 15, because the Batman's a PG-13.
I reckon this could have got away with a 12. I reckon this could have got away with a 12.
Tell you what, I'm going to look it up. BBFC.
Do they even still use 12? Because every 12
They
film
do.
that I've seen in recent years has been a 12A, which used to be a
No,
sub.
it's just 12A.
15.
It's 12A for cinema releases, but then it's a 12 when
Yeah,
they go to DVD, Blu-ray, and whatnot.
Yeah, standard. So it was 12A in cinema. Okay. They've tried it before. Some things made it. I want to say Ring 2 just about made it into a PG-13. Cry Wolf was one a while ago. That was a campus slasher. It was terrible. But this found a way to really make it work without blood, without a ton of swearing. It was just creative, well-directed.
It just
you
didn't
need
need
either
it.
for this film,
Yeah.
And it was so effective. Like, as I say, imagination.
Yeah.
Imagination fills in the worst bits. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
this shouldn't be a
Fez-
surprise. John Gorris has mentioned that it's Vincent Price's birthday today. You know, legend of a man, sadly no longer with us. But when you're watching a breadth of horror, when you're watching old horror, you're actually very used to not seeing a load of blood. So, but in modern films, it is kind of a standout thing that if you have something that is light on actual gore, light on swearing, you know.
Yeah, it didn't. It just didn't need it. Fez makes a good point as well, or he says they may have decided to tone it down to expand potential audience off the comedy aspect. So yeah, it's probably just to increase the reach that the film may have. I can see that. Equally, it's just one of those, use your imagination. You can fill in the blanks, and it does that well with this film. Like Haryan touched upon earlier with the relationship between her and her dad. There's very little explanation to that, but as the film goes on, you can start to infer things and make connections without being like without having your hand held throughout the journey. And then obviously everything's confirmed when they do meet up and she opens up to him. Brilliant.
I think this is why it's going to be a really good film, no matter how you see films. Because for people who are just like turn your brain off and enjoy a film, it's like, oh, I get it, it's Groundhog Day. Oh, I get it, she's trying to survive. Oh, in the end, she kind of survives because she finds the killer. And even if you're, like me, and an intellectual and a high IQ individual who enjoys films and deeper meanings, it's got things for that type of person as well. Obviously, I'm memeing there, but
Haryan has finally seen the virtue of doing deep readings of the films. My work is complete.
Well, you know what? In all seriousness, I think because I am one of those turn your brain off and enjoy film type people.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have appreciated this particular scene as much had I not been doing these streams and sort of sitting down and actually engaging with it and looking for things to sort of discuss and analyze and critique.
Well,
yeah. So,
well, if you are the type of person that's just like turn your brain off, your brain will go, "Oh, this is the scene where I'm supposed to feel feelings." Whereas if you're the person who's paid attention, you're like, "Oh my god, she really has a complicated relationship with her dad, and she just wants something deeper." As you can get from not answering his phone, looking through the old videos, being like, "Oh, I really had a good relationship with my family, and I'm throwing it away." And this is the scene where she goes,
"Yeah,
I need to change that." Yeah,
it's
so good.
It's really good.
This film didn't. Well, it did earn it, but it shouldn't have earned it. This film was supposed to be stupid and comedic.
And do you know what was really? And do you know what was really powerful about this scene as well? Right, the dad didn't really. She goes off into this massive monologue about how she needs to improve her life and essentially what she needs from her father. And all he does is just holds his hand out to her, open palm, and just holds her hand. And I just think that's what a dad should do.
And he's a really normal looking guy as well. He's so believable. They've put her. They do a really good job of making it seem like there is quite a large gap between her. I mean, you look at how she's dressed, and then look at the quite formal setting she's in. How he's done. You've got that real contrast there, which sets up that divide that she has to cross. But she's coming to him just like really humbly. You notice the makeup. It kind of looks like she's not wearing any.
Yeah.
She's kind of stripped down. There's no pretense, and it's so, I don't know, kind of raw. She sells it as real emotion.
I love that. Like when they are holding hands, he completely breaks the tension by just going, "Happy birthday, darling." So happy birthday. Yeah, it's a great scene.
PaleoAngloism. How did this scene work for you?
I really feel like this scene in particular was like it really like it broke up the film in a good way. I think it was specifically this scene really. It felt like the emotional payoff of the film. Like there was the plot payoff with the big reveal. But this was the emotional payoff of the film. Really feels like this is the payoff of her. I guess you could say her character arc. And yeah, I like you said, I really did like that it wasn't some like pretentious, like ultra handsome rich man. Like he wasn't meant to be a reflection of her at all. He was just like a bloke. Like they didn't go the really shallow way of like trying to blame her problems on her parents or anything like that. He's a bloke who's trying his best, but he's kind of removed from her problems, so he doesn't really get it. So she's had to explain it to him, and yeah, I really felt like this really added to the film rather than took away. Whereas a lesser scene of this nature would have just brought the. I think if this scene was handled poorly, it would have just brought the film to a halt.
No, yeah, you're definitely right. That it's certainly different to kind of how modern films are to kind of take it, where it's the men are bad, it's the men's fault. Like, I'm a strong, independent woman. It's like, no, I'm really weak. You've actually helped me, and I haven't appreciated that. That's kind of how this scene came across to me.
I also love like he needs her as well.
Oh yeah,
he's been scared to reach out to her. He's tried, and it's like no one is the bad guy here. And after how many films where the parents are idiot assholes who need to learn a lesson. Just this one where they're both two people who haven't known how to deal with a really, really horrible situation.
Yeah.
and,
I love it.
Well, I love it as well because it's a part of your brain that fills in with the rest of the story because she goes through this, but then she dies, so obviously the day resets.
Yeah, that was a bit disappointing.
Well, no, because my head went, oh, but I know because of the character development she has. As soon as the day's done, and maybe this should have been a final scene of the film or something, but when she was with Carter in the diner, it should have been like, okay, I'm gonna go with my dad. Like, see you later, something like that. Maybe that would have added to it, but you just know that she's gonna try and fix things with her dad because she's already gone through it. And it's like, this is what makes this film so good. Like, Tree is actually quite a complex character. She starts off as just a slag. She ends up as someone you should simp for. Basically, she's a real queen.
Definitely, yeah. Again, the film does a great job of building that foundation of her initial character style. I hated her. I felt like it was going to be really difficult for me.
I thought I'd hate this. I thought I'd hate this film.
Well, yeah, well, so did I. Exactly, so did I. I thought this was just going to be a really crap film. I thought it was going to be a bit disappointing. I thought, look at my avatar. I'm using Groundhog Day. I'm just thinking it's going to be a rip-off of that. They're not going to do a good job.
This was a great tribute to it.
And it was a fantastic tribute to it. I think it was beautifully.
I've never seen Groundhog Day, but I'm pretty sure it's a good tribute to it.
But I mean, no, but it is. It really is. They treated the source material brilliantly, and they made a good solid film with, like you said, Horrorshow. A relatively small budget.
And a lesser film. How much would a lesser film have just leaned on the irony of it's like Groundhog Day? And just had people repeat that joke over and over, which would be a funny joke. But
do you know what I wanted?
The irony barrier.
Just to make this point, a lesser film would have ended at the point where Carter gets his neck snapped and the woman goes, "Well, you have to sacrifice yourself. I'm going to carry on living."
I was so worried that was going to happen.
Exactly, and she's like, "No, so worried. You know what?
Yeah,
this is how the film says it. Carter sacrificed himself for me. I'm going to hang myself and make sure Carter survives so I can have a life with him and have his babies." There's literal line to say that, and I'm like, oh my god, I really hope I should do that for me.
But the thing is, they forget about the hospital receptionist as well. People were, she's like, "I've got to save Carter," and I said to Haley, I said to my wife, I was like, "And the hospital receptionist, because she took 3 bullets to the chest."
Oh well, yeah, but she probably just kind of ignored that.
Yeah, I know, but it was quite funny. It's like Carter. But that hospital receptionist has probably got a family as well, maybe kids. I'm like, do it for her as well.
Well, ironically, that is a rare thing with heroines these days. Because they're kind of like, from Star Wars, Admiral Holdo, she kamikazed, but then they retcon it as to like, she just tried to escape, because it's like, that maneuver only works 1 in a million times.
Yeah.
She knew.
I definitely shared the concern that she was going to let other people die for her, and it was going to be like, I'm amazing, my character arc's complete, and I'd be like, nowhere near, yeah. And she's like, no, it has to be. She's like, everyone has to be fine.
Yeah, it's like
specifically Carter, but the end result would be the same.
It's like I said with the director, he wanted to make her Sidney Prescott from I don't know, Angelica from the Rugrats or something.
That's what I was going to say. What I would love to have seen, Haryan, or that you prepped up before the stream, would be 2 top trumps cards. One of the main character before the redemption arc, and then one after.
Mate, it'd be probably bottom of the deck to top of the deck. It's
because Fred said, "Thou shalt not simp," but she does become a real queen by the end of this.
She is a real queen. You should simp for her. Like, Carter's a lucky man. You simp for the right woman.
Yes, Maverick Hunter. Yes, most of them. This is why she's a beautiful exception. And it's like she starts off like a standard female protagonist, except you're not meant to approve of her, which I love. Yeah. We should probably, because of our timings, get on to the absolute gold of this. Yeah. And seeing as I'm basically stealing it from you, PaleoAngloism, do you want to give us the reading of Happy Death Day and why it is so darn amazing?
I can do that. So, Happy Death Day is so good because effectively how shall I put this? It treats thottish behavior as a negative. Like it really says that it's really based in the fact that it treats like the behavior that's kind of become normalized in our society, this sort of hyper individualistic, like really like mentally and physically self-destructive behavior. There's all too common among young people, especially, that it treats as a negative. It treats family, it treats forming good, honest relationships and treating your fellow man with a level of respect and due reverence, and even has a pro-natalist message. Like all in all, it really brings
have his babies.
Yeah, it really brings all that together to form what is relatively a very based and very I would even go as far to say conservative conservative theme overall, and
it's not hitting you over the head with it. No one spells it out.
No,
it's just there, and it's lovely. And the symbolism of it is really good. Basically, a young woman is unable to progress in her life. She's unable to move forward with her life because she isn't resolving the key issues that are messing up her life. So she needs to sort out her behavior. She needs to start respecting herself and others, and she needs to reconnect with her father. And once she does that, she's able to move on with her life.
Yeah, and there's
amazing
another
symbolism.
There's another level to it where it's kind of like the man was wrong. He said, I just need to find the killer and then I can avoid them and live on with my life. And she starts thinking that's wrong. She starts waking up again. But then it turns out, oh no, the man was right. And it's very subtle in that way because the man was right. She just needed to find the killer and stop the killer finishing their deed. And then she could live on with her life because she doesn't eat the cupcake. She kills the killer and then... Wait, I'm sorry. I need to mention. I really, really like the interview with the sorority girl, who's like the girl that just died. She couldn't even do her hair right. She said something along those lines. Really narcissistic. And it was
Danny was very underrated. Like she's quite a stock character, but I think the actress just really sells it, and she's funny. She's not in too much either. It's just so well judged.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, carry on, PA. If there's anything else to say apart from...
I don't think there's really anything else to say. I think, to be honest, it was and here's the thing. It doesn't sell the message in a very boomerish way. Like it's not judgy. Like it's not judgy or overly or overly condemning of her behavior. It's just saying that what she's doing is bad. It just basically just says what she's doing is bad for her, and by the end of the film she's able to sort herself out. But she's able to sort herself out. But nonetheless, what she is doing is bad, and it's not going to pretend that it's good just to spare her feelings or the feelings of the audience. But it's not overly judgy. It's not like condemning her for being that way. It ultimately acknowledges there is a reason for it. Like it's more nuanced than just this again the sort of boomercon horrible boomercon young people bad, but just but rather it says there is a reason she's doing this. But that doesn't make what she's doing as right.
Yeah, definitely. It's empathetic to her experience, and look who she's surrounded by. You can understand that this is how she would behave. We could take the reading one step forward into like schizopost territory. Do you think it's significant that the ultimate image of fear is a baby?
I guess at an arm's length sort of sense, yes, because it is ultimate. If we're looking at it from a 2022 point of view, then yes, because
Sorry.
I say that because it's very like in 2022, like it's somehow a spicy take that people actually like having children.
Well, that's what I was getting from it. It's the
So
idea of she's looking at it, and the idea of a baby is quite like, oh, I'm not ready for that. I can't do that. That's a bit of a source of fear.
So possibly, but like more directly, I know why it's a baby mask. I think basically the director was having a baby at the time, and it was either that or I think a wolf mask or something like that.
It's a happy accident, really. He did need to pitch it as something
quite
that's
literally
weirdly comic, but also works to be scary.
Well,
and they do manage to make it scary. I think some of the shots of it are lovely.
So just to be I can't remember the director's name, but he was having a baby at the time, and I think he links this to basically saying, "Look, I was scared of the baby mask because I was scared of having a baby at the time, but also they tried both masks on, just randomly scaring people in the crew, and the baby mask seems to scare more people." I think, as you say, it's kind of more people found this scarier than the wolf mask, so that's why they went with it. It's not that deep, bro, but at the same time, it kind of fits
it's definitely not that deep in the sense that, like, so we openly acknowledge it is like a schizo post take.
I always try and go a little bit further, if I can. I try and go a bit further. But we get to that finale, and I love this reveal so much. We sort of talked about it already. It was already so good, and then they do this as well, and it's just it's a cherry on the cake.
It's what I love. It's because in this scene they start having a fight, and one of the sorority girls is like, "What's going on in there?" And it's like nothing, and they just believe it. And I'm like, yeah, that's realistic. I'll be honest. People would not expect these women to fight, and for one of them to end up outside the window. And she obviously dies in front of the Asian girl in her headphones, and I'm like, this is that's funny. That is funny and morbid at the same time, and it's exactly my humor. And it's delivered. It's set up to this point. I don't feel they had to go out their way of the plot to have this scene. This is totally coherent with the rest of the film. I just found it really funny. I'm at a loss for words. It is. It's because I think say with Hot Fuzz, I think they had to make more excuses for that guy to lose his head to a church spire than to have this scene. But obviously the Hot Fuzz scene is funnier. It's just great. That's no other way to put it. It's just great.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like we need a 5-hour stream for this film because I feel like we've missed so much.
I would be
Well, we could have had one, but you decided to,
I'll be honest, I've been sitch in 30 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am a sickening individual.
However, I trust that since you are abandoning us so early, you're going to do a sneaky little shill in, right? You're just like, oh, hi, guys. How you doing? I've just come from
I've just come from Proper Horror Show. You should punch that subscribe button. You should throw that favorite button out the window. You stab that like in the heart. It's great. Yeah. Obviously.
Oh, fantastic.
How could I not?
Yeah. You just smash that subscribe button over and over again, no matter how many times it keeps coming back. Lovely. Yeah. I'll drop a little bit here about the sequel. Because why not? And I'm gonna have to say I can't recommend the sequel. The sequel, Happy Death Day to You, which came out in 2019, 2 years later, you had the returning crew, I believe. You had the returning writer. I will just confirm that. I think it is... Okay, no. The director wrote the sequel entirely. Now, in that one, they do lean much more heavily on the comedy. And they give you a little fake out where you think you're just seeing the Asian roommate over and over again, and it's going to be following him. You don't get that. It returns to her, and they kind of do the classic thing of try and just amp everything up, which is sort of, I found it went a little bit beyond the sort of level of reality established for this film into really trying to be very over the top. And one of the problems that they have is they establish a new set of killers, which is like, I mean, it's already a bit amazing that we have the killers we have in this film, but then they have to go out and find another killer in the same universe. And I wasn't a fan. I felt it was a bit too much of a stretch. They pushed the comedy way too much, and it was really kind of wacky. So if you are curious, you can give Happy Death Day 2U a try. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I'd probably watch this one again. It's fantastic.
It feels like they caught lightning in a bottle with this film and tried to recreate it. And they've tried to recreate it, especially without the original writer, and they just weren't managed. They just didn't manage it.
Oh, did you watch it? Paleo? Did you watch the sequel?
No, but from what you're but it's an all too common story.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a thing where they really try and, let's see, Mergoop's referenced it, so he knows exactly what I mean. There's, I might as well spoil it. There's a thing where they try and challenge the really funny one where she just walks out naked, and they really go over the top. She skydives naked and then lands slow motion, flipping off the camera before her body hits the floor and explodes, and it's, you know, it's
okay.
It's quite bravura. It's creative, but it's also it's like just a little too silly for me.
That's against the spirit of this film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend it. I'd just watch this again. And to be honest, Harry, if we want to go like full EFAP on this another time, I'd be up for it, because there is so much you can say about it, and I'd love to listen to the director commentary as well and find out what they said about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear the thought process that went into this film, because it was either complete luck they found lightning in a bottle, or it was, oh yeah, we really wanted to make a good film. I can see it being either way. But with a rewrite of the ending, that could still be either way. I'm not sure. I'd love to find out though. But yeah, this is one of those examples of a film where I'm like, look, comedy could be actually a really good film. It doesn't just have to be Edgar Wright writing Hot Fuzz. Comedy can make sense. I
actually think this film would have been worse off for Edgar Wright's editing style, as I think I actually think the cinematography of this film served the plot quite well.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think it would have been. It's not like it would have been a detriment, but this probably maybe has the edge over it. But who knows? It's.
I think it's very specific to this film, because I think I think the benefit of Edgar Wright films is that he's very picky with the stuff he directs. So he only really picks stuff that is very specifically up his directing style alley, and I just don't think this would have fit quite well enough.
I could agree. I was a bit wrong because of this movie. I made a prediction after we had this that we would start seeing a wave of remakes of very 80s concept movies as horror films, because we saw this. It got a sequel that did well. Then they ended up making another one, which you might be familiar with. I'll just get it on screen now. Freaky. So that is also a Blumhouse Horror, and that is a horror version of Freaky Friday, which you've discussed in the quiz. And I was like, okay.
I like how Vince Vaughn looks like a woman and Catherine Newton looks like a man. That's
Well,
quite an innovative.
it's it's good acting because it's a
There you
body swap horror.
Oh, nice.
So they did this, and I was like, oh, they're going to do more, right? And I was waiting for the horror version of Big, or like Back to the Future, but horror, like Back to the Suture, or there's a whole bunch of them they could do, like Slash Dance, right?
Yes.
No one else is as old as me, are they? I feel so alone.
What are you, 30?
Afraid so. And
Oof.
some change.
Oof.
But, I know.
It's all right. You're not the only one in that club.
That's right.
We'll leave these children to their.
I bought albums on tape. It's so true. Yeah.
I had vinyls.
Tape? The hell's a vinyl? I only know the MP4s and the YouTubes.
Ugh.
Sorry, I'm a zoomer.
Disgraceful. Yeah, so I was wrong. We have not seen the wave of 80s concept movie horror remakes that I expected, but the door is still open. I genuinely think something like a horror version of Big would be amazing, but
I do like. Sorry, one last time, but I do hope that that this studio actually does actually lead more into this, because I think if they have competent writers and directors, they can pull it off. I can't speak for Freaky, but as far as this film goes, they are capable of writing a good 80s concept movie.
Mm. Oh, absolutely. And I'm just surprised we got it from this director as well. I wouldn't have expected it. So he's done fairly unremarkable stuff. He did a whole bunch of the Paranormal Activities movies. So I think he was just like a go-to guy for Blumhouse. He did 4 Paranormal Activities movies. 5 Paranormal Activity movies. Yeah.
Bloody hell, that's a lot of paranormal.
Yeah. He's a busy lad, so I would not have expected him to pull this out, but he did a really solid job, and he actually directed Freaky. So he seems to be typecast in a way.
Right.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Make Me American. I do not know that film. I don't know it. So I'm not sure, but I just think there's an opportunity there to just sort of use an interesting concept and make it scary. I want to see more of it. But we have about 13 minutes left, so I won't dally.
It's not that much of a rush, don't worry. But I'd love to get my thoughts on this film.
I think you should go first, Haryan. Rock out.
Yes. Man, this film had so many surprises considering what I was expecting. I mean, hopefully all of you have seen this film before this review. But it starts off with a character that I hated. And it ended up with a character that I would love to have in my life in some respect. Even this scene, like,
that smile.
Clearly she has a humor about herself as well. The whole film is about how do I deal with this time loop. It's about her answering that, and the logical progression of it is it's so simple, but it makes so much sense. And her first assumption is the correct assumption, but she has to go through hoops to find out. Oh, I was wrong about my first assumption in that. Oh, the person I thought killed me wasn't the person who killed me. I have to find the person who killed me. Oh, is this person the cupcake? It's my dorm mate. That's not what I expected. And it's like, yeah, and the reasoning for it makes sense as well. Oh, I'm really annoyed at you because the man I want to bang is banging you instead. That really annoys me and I want to kill you for it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a woman move. That is a woman move. This film made a big jigsaw out of itself and put itself back together very well. I think that's the best way I can put it. And the comedy is just an added layer of frosting. It's good where it works most of the places. Some places I'm like, you're trying to make a joke there, it doesn't quite work. Like with the obvious stuff of, deja vu means someone's masturbating and thinking about you. I think, therefore I get deja vu 9 times a day. I'm like, you're pushing the comedy there. But that's quite a rare scene. So really with this film, it's a 9 or a 10 out of 12. I can't decide. But I hate going halfway through, so I think I'm going to edge on the side of it's better than it is worse. So 10 out of 12 burgers, extra cheese, excellent film. Go watch it.
Oh, that warms my heart, Harry, and that warms my little heart. I'm so glad you liked it. I wish I'd done the prediction now. I thought it was on the rewatch. I was thinking, yeah, this is solid. This is working.
It's so good. It's so good. And as I say, it made me cry. And I'm like, you don't deserve this. But at the same time, you do. You're so good.
No.
Honestly, great film. Go watch it.
Scoop Dog. Yes, I want it. I want it so much. It's still called the Breakfast Club, but the club has spikes through it. Huh? What do you reckon?
Ooh.
Could happen. Could happen. All right. How about you, Paleo? Would you like to give your closing thoughts and score out of 12? Obviously, we are still using the 12 burger scale.
I absolutely I didn't think going into this film, I didn't think I was going to like it. As you know, I'm not huge on horror, comedy horrors about as much as I can hack, and luckily this was one. I thought this was solidly paced. The story was excellent, had a really good message. I'm really fond of this. I'm just really fond of this film, and I think it's something that I will go and rewatch in my spare time. And I'll probably even give the second one a watch, even though it's terrible, just to see what it's like. Overall score, I'm going to give 10 burgers out of 12, all the cheese, all the condiments, everything. Just 10 out of 12. Excellent film.
Lovely. I think that's very fair. That's very fair. TCG, would you like to go next?
Completely echo the guys. It's a 10 out of 12, easy for me. It was a pleasant surprise. Lots of cheese as well. This film just really surprised me as to how good it was. Like the other chaps, I was going into it fully expecting a train wreck, and walking away thinking, Jesus wept, I've actually come across a very, very good horror comedy. The only downside to it, and I just have to echo, just have to repeat that, was the inconsistency on the whole injuries that she would sustain on regens and how they treated that. That for me, but that for me was the only. It didn't break the film, but
it's an easy fix. Just don't have that scene in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Either remove it or don't go so over the top with hospitalizing her, and just maybe making it more visually apparent that she's getting weaker. But again, it doesn't. It doesn't ruin it in any way, shape, or form. It just adds an extra element of danger, which I can accept. Story is, it's consistent. There's a clear line throughout the film. The beginning, middle, and end are solid. Really good twist at the end with the cupcake. It was just I really, really rate this film. The Rotten Tomatoes score doesn't do it justice, and it's a shame that it does have, from what you said, Horrorshow, quite a poor sequel, because I think as a standalone film this would this is definitely a winner.
Didn't need a sequel.
Didn't need a sequel. No,
doesn't need it at all.
No, no. But riding on the success wagon, that's probably why it got made. But yeah, I bloody loved it. It was a really good film. Really enjoyed to watch it, and would definitely recommend it and rewatch it again in the near future.
Oh, fantastic. I'm loving it. I'm probably a bit more generous just because I love the theme. I thought it had a really clever reading that it didn't hit you over the head with. A horror film that should have been light and frothy and silly and kind of, it carries that off as well. You could easily just see it as like a fun, quick comedy. It doesn't mess around. It's over in about 97 minutes, I think. This is a quick film. It does not waste any time. 96 minutes. But it carries really wholesome messages, really useful messages. it doesn't hit you over the head with them, and you see a character who I think you can really empathize with. You go on an emotional journey, and I just got hit in the feels when I didn't expect to, and it didn't feel manipulative. It felt mature, and I never expected it to be this good. The only things I'm taking points away are I would have liked a few more bonus inside horror references. I wasn't a fan of the plot line about the sustained injury. I think, to be honest, being just trapped in endless repeating time loops is enough. And even there, I feel and I could have done with just a bit more blood in some cases. But I'm really quibbling on that. For me, very, very easy 11 out of 12. I never expected to like it this much, but what can I say? It was an amazing surprise.
It's better than it has any right to be.
Fantastic,
which
fantastic
I hate saying,
description.
it is so good. It's worth the watch. But
I could show this to anyone,
like
I think. Yeah.
No, I think I could as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You notice the lack of ketchup on these burgers.
The film,
oh yeah, there's no ketchup going around.
No.
You know?
What is my cat doing?
Oh bless. All right. I also notice in the poll that's been up, and I'll do a general poll like I did for the arcs. I am surprised, guys. I'm cool with doing either of these videos, but I'm pleasantly surprised that you lean towards Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Close the poll so we can see it.
Oh, sorry. I'll end the poll now. Has that come up for you?
It should come up in the next. Yeah, it's closed. Whoa, 73%. Jesus.
Yeah, very surprised. But hey, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, we should follow the film and not overstay our welcome. That's a round of 10s and an 11 from me. Just loved it. No right to be this good. Well done. Every other film should pick itself up.
It made me feel feelings that I didn't know I had.
This is a story that a lot of people need to see. It's got an amazing message, beautifully told. Now, I know you need to be getting out of here, so I actually forgot to do our shilling at the start. So, Haryan, would you like to get your shills in first?
Right, easy peasy. Video art today, it's about trans issues. It's gay. Who would have thunk? I'm on Adam and Sitch in literally 2 minutes. Go over to the Adam and Sitch channel if you haven't blocked them. And tomorrow I will more than likely be doing a newscast stream, unless there's something specific I want to talk about, but we'll see. And then it's Jubilee weekend, so I'm off to a wedding. But that's it for me. I will see you all again next week, if not again before.
I'm going to listen to the Adam and Sitch. I want to hear you drop the smoothest, slickest shill for this channel ever. I'm gonna be listening for that. Just like super smooth TCG style.
Oh, there's no such thing as super smooth TCG style. I fumble and mumble all over the place, but somehow I managed to get there.
No, I don't believe you. Why don't you give us a demonstration of your amazing shilling powers?
All right, okay. So there's no Florida Man stream this week on Friday on the second channel, unfortunately, because as Haryan said, it's Jubilee week. So we are getting together as a family and doing some bits and bobs. So that will be back next week. But I did stream the second part of Batman, the Telltale series. So do feel free to go and check that out. If Horrorshow hasn't linked the second channel in the description, you can find it through the main channel
it's in the description. Don't worry, folks. Everyone's links are in the description.
In the meantime, I will be having a new true crime video out. I'm aiming for Friday. It might be a day or two after that, depending on how busy things get for the rest of this week. But I'm aiming for a Friday. But I'll keep everyone updated on the community, and also follow me on Twitter if you aren't already. So if you go on Twitter @thatcrimeguy, I also post updates regarding the progress of the channel and videos to keep you guys in the loop so that you keep informed throughout. But yeah,
very nicely done. All right, and PaleoAngloism, get your shilling out there, friend.
Right. For those few of you that don't know, I am PaleoAngloism. I thought you formerly known as British Knight. You can find me on Twitter at PaleoAngloism or on YouTube again, PaleoAngloism. I rarely do videos these days, though I am working on one about Tony Blair, though that won't be out for a while. I usually stream about once or twice a week about a current affairs topic. I should be streaming at some point this week. Not quite sure about what yet, as the news stream has been pretty slow. So yeah, come check me out, and I shall hope to entertain you with to the best of my ability, and keep you updated on all the latest goings on in the realm of politics. So yeah, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure. And on my end, I will say the homework, we are moving into the first of our H.P. Lovecraft arcs. I have actually acquired for myself a complete edition of all his fiction, which is quite hefty. And I was convinced, with a very sound argument, that we actually need to start. We can combine two of our films, which frees up a space. So the first one you'll have to watch is Reanimator. Stuart Gordon's Reanimator. Absolute classic, wonderfully schlocky, and based on Herbert West Reanimator. Watch the film. Try and read the short story if you can as well. I'm not sure if we're doing it on the Thursday or if we'll pre-record it, but we'll see. We'll see how we can do. I'm also a bit messed up by the Jubilee weekend.
So
aside from that, from your homework, which is, I said, is Reanimator, I've been very busy. I got out an exclusive video for members and subscribers to Subscribestar, and I have, well, as you've seen from the poll, I've got 2 in the works. They are going to come out after my video on Black Mirror, which I think you guys are going to love. And if you didn't catch it, I also got an interesting one on the critical drinker and the desire to keep the politics out the films, which seems to have gone down very well. So I'd recommend you watch that and enjoy. But as I know we all need to get off, we're earlier than usual, but still slightly angering Super Nanny.
Ow, she's poking me now. Ow.
Oh no. Oh no. All right, so we'll round off now. I've got to thank my fantastic guests. Really great having you on, and I'm so glad you guys like this film. And chat, you've been amazing. If you haven't seen Happy Death Day, I hope we sold it to you. Give it a watch. It's such a good film. And you have your homework. I hope you have a fantastic weekend.
See me on Almond Sitch in 5 minutes.
Yeah, go and do that and make rock jokes and shill my channel.
And me.
All right. Yeah, just fill it